This is the Classic Auto Mall Show. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 298. Featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall president and the man with all the toys, Stuart Howden.
And welcome to show number 137. It keeps getting bigger and bigger, and we don't know how to do it. Yeah, thanks. I have clapping on here somewhere that I can hit the little button.
Just clap. I got one over here, too.
Hard to believe.
It's something new every week, so it's just...
Well, we're trying to... Modern technology, you know. We're going to get AI to do everything, so including my job.
And mine.
We were talking about AI yesterday.
Yes, we were.
Pretty at length about the things that we are going to see if it can and cannot do, and it'll be interesting to see. We'll keep everybody updated. Yeah. So I went to the car dealer the other day to tell him that there was a noise. I sound like my dad. There would be noises in his hubcaps, and he would go and bitch at the Cadillac dealer. There's a noise coming from the left front hubcap. What is it? Yeah, well, is it a rock? Did something come loose? So on one of my cars, in the driver's side passengers or rear passenger seat, it sounds like a broken shock absorber. Mm-hmm. It's a brand new car, so. Hey, I don't even know if it has a shock absorber.
Right. I was going to say.
Do they even have those anymore?
Probably fiberglass, leaf spring.
But it
composite.
it's rattling. It's a weird noise. And so I felt like my dad when I went to them and griped. And when you're explaining to a mechanic something and they really want to roll their eyes, but they're not. But you can just feel that any moment 100%. They would just like to be rolling their eyes and,
Internally, they're rolling their eyes.
Oh, they're internally rolling their eyes. Absolutely.
Oh, by the way, I happened to have this Torque channel on last night, and there were two things. Dirty Old Cars was a show where it's basically they buy a car and they have 2 days to fix it and sell it. But the other thing was King of Cars.
Right.
We mentioned in Car Dealer.
Right.
And it was they shoot Tobin Dodge in Henderson, which is outside of Las Vegas.
Right. I know.
And it's like a meat grinder. It's one of these big dealerships where they're ringing the bell and pressure on the guys to sell, and it was almost unnerving.
I was in a dealership not too long ago, somewhere close to here, and you walk into the main showroom, and there's no cars in the showroom. It's all desks.
Yeah,
and it must be 200 desks in this big, huge.
That's what this was like. Yep,
crazy.
Exactly
crazy.
like it. And they were, and then they had a dunk tank, so they were going to put the managers who didn't sell each one of their people on their team had to sell a car by the end of the day, or they would get dunked in the tank. It's like, come on, man.
Nice. So, how many new cars in inventory?
How many?
I'm going to say 970.
Oh, you're so off. 942.
Okay. Oh, back down the other way.
Yeah, we're going the other way.
Seems like a lot of cars coming in. That's why I said that.
And of course, there's things going on externally that people are taking their car to in hopes that maybe they can get it sold. And, listen, I don't blame them. If there's an opportunity, take it. We get it that, we can't sell every single car. If we did, we'd be in trouble. We'd have a really good, week, and then they would be over.
There's a good flow. There's a good flow coming in. The weather's getting nice, and got some cars in.
Our consignments have been picking up.
Yeah, we don't hold them hostage.
No, we do not. And you say, where did we sell cars to last week? I better clear my throat for this. How about Newmarket, Maryland, Briarcliff, New York, Richland Hills, Texas, Leicester, Pennsylvania, Fairfield, California, Nampa, Idaho, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Jacksonville, Florida, Glendale, Maryland, Maryland, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Smethport, Pennsylvania, Morgantown, Pennsylvania, right here, Havertown, Pennsylvania, Summers, New York, Huntington, Oregon, Traverse City, Michigan, Westchester, Pennsylvania. Actually, two to Westchester.
Well, and that detail show had one of the detailers was in Morgantown,
right,
North Carolina.
Right?
North Carolina.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Anyway, thanks to the Pat Travers Band for our theme music, and some new arrivals that we got this week are really interesting. Did you see the Dodge Power Wagon?
I sure did.
Well, of course you did, because you wrote the description.
I sure did. Yeah.
My goodness gracious. Battleship gray and black over black. This thing is full-on custom, and it's a Dodge Series V. It's a 1940 Dodge Series VC G502 Power Wagon pickup. God, what a name. What a name on that. Full-on custom build, rebuilt Cummins 4BT turbo diesel, T19 4-speed manual. It's got heat and air, power brakes and steering. This thing was a work truck back in the day like no other. I don't remember seeing them even as a kid. I don't ever remember seeing
Right. They were gone by the time we were kids. Yeah.
Yeah, in the 60s, I don't think you ever saw these around, but boy, they're popular. You see them at Barrett-Jackson and Meekum, and they're ringing the bell on these prices on these things. Crazy. And
none of them as high as this one.
No, this one might be right up there in the stratosphere area.
I know Garrett had to climb the tires to get up to the hab.
You kind of got to do the Spidey Man thing to get up it. You got to bounce from one tire to the other tire, grab something, hope that you're not grabbing the wrong handle or the whip antenna.
It's very farm-like, and there's no little ladders.
No, there's no ladders. You'd have to carry a separate ladder with you somehow, I guess. But anyway, a really cool piece. And these were all like weapons carriers and carry-alls and ambulances back in the day, and they looked like they would go anywhere.
That's true.
It's like the Lamborghini LM002, which actually is going to be one at Radnor Hunt.
Is that right?
They've got one coming to the show. It'll be kind of cool. So if you get a chance, go check out the Radnor Hunt Conqueror. It's in September. Wow. A little ways away, but I mean, it'll be here before we know it.
I think that's what Mission Barbecue uses as their remote
No, that's
vehicle.
actually an M37. That's a military. That's a military truck.
Oh, very good.
Well, thank you for all that.
And we've had those here as well.
We've had an M37,
but it's
here.
similar. It's very similar.
How about the 1926 Pontiac Series 6 two-door coach? Now, what's significant about 1926? You say?
I wrote it, so I'm not going to say.
You're being humble here.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know. Tell us.
It would be the first year for Pontiac, 1926.
Okay, that's
Remember, we
right.
had the 1926 race car Speedster that was here that they ended up donating to the AACA
That's
Museum,
right.
and it's in their lobby now, or it's supposed to be in their lobby at some point in time. First year for Pontiac, 1926, and that one, the one we had, was the first race car ever built by Pontiac, or that was turned into a race car. Light Arizona gray and black over gray. First year, multiple AACA awards, and the Pontiac Pontiac Oakland Club International Award. This thing is near perfect, as we like to say. We don't want to say perfect because somebody will prove us wrong. We're certain.
Always.
And what an amazing car! I mean, to have lasted, now 98 years as the first year of anything, which is really pretty interesting. And I wish Pontiacs were still around, as we all do, because we all loved Pontiacs. We were all Pontiac guys.
That's true.
Here. So if you get a chance to see these, you can see all these cars on our website, classicautomall.com. Other new arrival, 1936 Mercedes-Benz 230 Saloon, which is really an unusual car. Most of the 30s Mercedes-Benz you see are the big SSKs and 540Ks and 5 whatever. And this is a very unusual inline 6 is the power on it. It's got a real sinister look, doesn't it?
Yes, it does have a kind of a
I wonder where I got that from. Maybe from the write-up, I guess. Good job, Steve. Black over oxblood. And it's got a huge file of detailed notes and receipts and all that, which is so important, so critical. And we preach and preach and preach on that, how important it is. Don't throw any of that away. And make sure that when the car goes somewhere, whether it's sold or whether you give it to somebody or whether you pass on and your family moves it on, make sure somebody knows about where all this paperwork is.
Sure.
Don't let it get lost.
Beautiful interior on this car, by the way.
Oh, really? And it's really an interesting looking car. It really is. Black is a perfect color for this car.
Yep.
Absolutely. Other new items in 1976 Ford F250 Ranger long bed 4x4 pickup. This thing is really cool. Candy apple red and white over red and white. It's got a newer 390 cubic inch V8, so it's got plenty of power. This thing is really cool, and it's really big. It would be hard to park even at Walmart.
Another tall truck. And, these things were, 20 years ago, these were a dime a dozen, and now they're super collectible.
I don't know how, people used trucks until they were unusable. With duct tape and, whatever it took to cobble them together, and they used them until they just finally just died and they left them wherever they were parked.
True. In the field.
In the field, generally. So to find these trucks that weren't worked at, especially these F-250s.
Right.
F-150s, you could see more of a guy driving around town, even back in the day. People didn't use pickup trucks quite like they do today. Like my pickup truck has never been in the dirt.
Never will be.
Probably. I think I put something in the back to haul from Lowe's or something. My wife said, "You're going to scratch it." And I'm like, well, that's what it's for.
Yeah, we have to put slippers on before we get in your truck. Isn't that right? Isn't that right, according to Kathy?
Yeah, and take your shoes off when you come to our house.
I've seen some work trucks. It's like that truck owes that guy nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
He has worked every last breath out of it.
Absolutely. How about the 1978 Mercedes-Benz 450 SL convertible, new inventory? Ruby red metallic over bamboo, 3 owners from new, garage kept. I mean, this thing, known history from new. This paint is unbelievable.
It really is.
That ruby red metallic is stunning.
It is. This is the one with the wheels too, right? Yeah. And
Yeah.
got
I don't
sure
know what that was.
yeah, it's got an interesting stance, a beautiful paint job, and I don't expect this one to last very long. It's priced right.
Yeah, it's priced right. A regular 450 SL usually don't last very long because, like you say in the description, these things were considered if you were the wealthy class, the 450 SL was the car of choice. You had a 450 SL, a Rolex watch, and a Learjet.
I mean, you lived in Los Angeles. If you saw one, that was an important person.
Yeah, exactly. And they were. I mean, the 450 SL was the most iconic rich person, even more so than a Rolls Royce, really.
It was, yeah.
Something about that 450 SL just had that look about it. But beautiful car, and a lot of them are in less than stellar condition that we find from time to time. And you have to be careful with older German cars and British cars. Listen, if they're well sorted like this one, then you don't have much to worry about. But to go buy one at an auction and it's $4,000 or $5,000, that'll be the first check you write, and that'll probably be the smallest check you write. Just be careful. Don't tread into it because it seems cheap. I get calls from guys, and we've talked about this, where a guy will say, "Oh, I was at an auction, and then I bought this Jaguar for $5,000." I'm like, "Oh, tell me a little bit about it." Well, it's true mileage unknown, and it's this, and it's that, and all these red flags. And I said, the ideal time to call me was prior to the purchase.
Pre-purchase inspections are always good, especially with German and British cars.
Sure. You want somebody who knows what they're looking for and what to look for. There are pitfalls within these cars and within cars of this generation and era that need to be addressed and need to be known about. Last but not least, the 2023 Dodge Challenger RT Scat Pack Wide Body Plum Crazy Over Black. 143 actual miles. Is that right? Yeah. 143.
Not a typo, as I say in the description.
I mean, is this the last of its kind?
It's pretty much. Well, I don't know. I think muscle cars or I should say, internal combustion engine muscle cars from Dodge are on a hiatus.
Right.
They'll make it a grand comeback at some point in 5 years or so, and then everybody will buy them. Meanwhile, there was a big rush to buy these final ones.
And that's why this one probably won't last very long, especially with, basically delivery miles on it. So if you get a chance, like I said, go to our website, classicautomall.com. You can see all of our new inventory. And when we return, our special guest is going to be with us via Zoom, Jeff Mason, the CEO and president of the Piston Foundation, among other things that he does automotive. We'll talk to Jeff in just a couple of minutes. See you then.
Whether you want to buy or sell a classic, collectible, or special interest vehicle, you need to visit the Classic Auto Mall website for more information. If you're looking to buy, you can easily search our inventory of more than 1,000 vehicles on the web at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. And via Zoom today, we have our special guest, special guest, Jeff Mason, CEO and president of the Piston Foundation. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks. Great to be here with you.
Yeah, we didn't realize you were in Denver, so we could have done this a little bit later, I guess, giving you a little bit of more sleep-in time. But it is 9:00 there, right? So.
Yeah, it's fine. We're up and working here. It's a hard-working town out here in the West.
We love Denver. We fly in there a lot. We don't spend a lot of time in Denver. We fly in there to go skiing, and of course get a rental car from there and try to get out of there before the snow hits. And you got to get up the mountain, which happened about 4 weeks ago when we were in Colorado when it was getting 4 feet of snow, and that was the day we flew in. So that was a lot of fun.
The good thing is we're well equipped for it here, so it's not like the world stops.
Yeah, we couldn't get up the mountain. We literally kept getting rerouted down south and north, and finally we got behind these 4 snowplows staggered. And I don't think we were supposed to be there, and we were in a rental car, so who cares? And so we just followed them up, and we just got right up the mountain. And when we got there, everybody said, "How in the world did you get here?" And we're like, "We got lucky somehow."
Well, you figured out the secret.
Yes, so we did. You followed the plow truck. So the Piston Foundation, a fantastic organization. Our friend Judy Stropus was telling us about it and telling us about you, and that's why we wanted to have you on the show and talk about what you guys are doing now. Now, you're based in, as we talked off air, you're based in Connecticut. Is that correct?
We are. We're based out of Stamford, Connecticut, and that is where the organization was founded. Our founder, Robert Minnick, was based there. But in truth, we're actually a virtual organization. We have, folks across the country. me being one of them. My roots are back east, so our home base is the Northeast, car community. But yeah,
Connecticut is an amazing car culture. When we go to Greenwich, to the Concord there, and to some other events that we go to in Connecticut, we're always amazed at how many cool cars are in that part of the world. It's a hotbed for vehicles. A lot of people, I guess, from New York City live in Connecticut and commute in and have their bigger houses there, I guess, and then keep all their cars. And you can't keep your car in New York City. Certainly not a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something along those lines. So it certainly makes sense. So Piston Foundation was how long? What, 3 years you guys have been going, or longer, or is it?
Yeah, you're right. This is the beginning of our 4th year. So while the name sounds like we've been around for a long time, we're really just the startup. And we were founded in 2021. We awarded our first scholarships in 2022, our second group in 2023. So this spring, we'll be awarding our 4th group of scholarships to aspiring collector car mechanics.
Fantastic. And these scholarships allow them to attend online or in-person universities or trade schools, or how does that?
Yeah, so it's tuition assistance for young people who are interested in a career in classic and collector cars, who are attending an automotive program, an accredited automotive program. It could be a 2-year program, it could be a 4-year program, and we have students at local community colleges with an auto tech program, and we have students at 4-year schools like McPherson in their restoration program.
Is there more than McPherson? Is McPherson the only 4-year accredited school at this point in time? That's the only one I've ever heard of. I don't know that there's more.
I believe it is the only 4-year restoration program, but we have relationships with other schools that have restoration programs, such as Pennsylvania College of Technology, also called Penn College. Yep. University of Northern Ohio has a program, among others, and then there's also several schools that have motorsport programs. One of the ones that we work with over the last couple of years is Lanier Technical College in Gainesville, Georgia, has a very excellent motorsports program that provides a lot of techs that are going into NASCAR and IMSA racing, but also a lot of their students are also interested in classic cars. So there's a number of specialty programs around the country, but that's not really required for the students that we support, meaning the thing that we're really supporting is that interest in going into classic and collector cars. And, if they're starting at a local auto tech program in their community college, that's perfectly fine, right? We all need to get those basics of automotive systems, all that basic information. And that's a great place to start. And then they'll hopefully move on into our apprenticeship program.
Sure. And of course, the shame of what we've done to our education system in the United States is gotten rid of shop programs in high school and auto shop and wood shop and all the good things that a lot of people needed to do. We always say this, most of our customers are guys who were in those shop classes who made a career out of it, a plumber who became a plumbing company, a woodworker who became a framer. They all built businesses out of it. They're all very successful. And it proves that you don't have to have a traditional 4-year degree or in, liberal arts or whatever it is you want to get your degree in anymore.
Yep.
And
that's certainly true. And there's definitely a movement that is recognizing that here in the U.S. that we've actually lost something when we eliminated technical education from high schools and basically created a giant gap there. And if you ask anybody in the trades of any trade, what's the first thing that stopped somebody from considering that trade as a career? It's that technical education at the high school level. Right. That was the first gap that interested students couldn't get across.
Right. And the perception is that, oh, that's the best you can do is be a carpenter or a plumber or whatever, or a guy who works on cars. Well, guess what? How much does the guy at Mercedes-Benz, the lead mechanic at Mercedes-Benz make? You know, I mean,
That's right.
At the local dealership. I bet he makes more than most of the guys he went to school with.
Right. More than a first-year marketing coordinator at a big tech company. That's for sure.
Exactly right. And a much in desire position. I mean, you talk to anybody in any kind of trade type business, whether it's mechanical, electrical, plumbing, they're all hurting for people. They're hurting to find people. And that's going to happen with these classic cars. And there's more and more people, you know, contrary to popular belief, the hobby's getting more popular. And that's because of a lot of the things that happen on television with the auctions and all that. And we're seeing people coming in here, first time buyers. Guess what? Their first question is, where do I get it worked on? How do I, you know, who am I going to call? You know, and that's why we don't have a repair facility here, because we would be overwhelmed as many cars as we sell.
Yeah, you would. You would. I love what you guys do. Your place is just amazing. All the cars, it's just amazing to walk through.
Well, the nice thing is that I think all of us are contributing to the perpetuation of this hobby, and that's what we want it to be. We're brutally honest about what we do here with cars and the conditions and things like that, because we want people to know exactly what it is. The reason you're getting this car for X is because of this. The reason you would pay Y is because of that. And we want people to know that, but we also do want to be able to say, hey, and by the way, here's your guy you take your Thunderbird down to, and this guy knows everything about Thunderbirds.
Yep. You know, the truth is, you know, the hobby, you're absolutely right. It's grown, and as you know, it's grown in interest. There's been a lot more exposure for it. And of course, we all know that, you know, cars as an asset class, as an investment, you know, is something that exists now that didn't exist a couple decades ago for most vehicles that people would invest in today. And with all of that, you know, the truth about the career is there's no lack of interest. It's not a lack of interest that keeps young people out of this career path. It's really a lack of access. Mm-hmm. And that access comes in from two things: access to the education that can get them, allow them to turn their interest into sort of an idea of a career, and then access to hands-on training. We know that this is something you have to learn on the job. You know, the education you would get in any automotive program is not enough to make you a professional. Sure. So you have to be able to make that transition to a hands-on, on-the-job training situation. And that's why the second piece of our program is scholarships and then apprenticeships. And that's what we've just launched this year. We have a pilot program to take qualified, you know, tech school graduates or somebody with enough experience and is ready to be in an apprenticeship situation. Exactly like we used to know apprenticeships, right? Absolutely.
What happened to that? Where did that go? How did that just disappear, you know?
Right. And like other trades have, you know, developed apprenticeship programs to make sure that they have a career path for people to follow. And that does not exist for the collector car world yet. That is exactly what the Piston Foundation is building.
That's fantastic. And, you know, it's an ongoing education thing. It's not like you can just go to school for 4 years and go, okay, I know everything there is to know. That's just an ongoing thing that goes on. And learning some of the, you know, the things that Gene Whitfield, who can bend metal and, you know, make it look beautiful. I mean, that's art. That's not mechanical. That's not electric. That's art is what that guy, somebody like you knows. And how do you teach that?
I was going to say, there is that craft component. I mean, we could talk about starting the career and getting that technical education, but, you know, as you just pointed out, at some point that technical education, technical knowledge transitions into craft as people go deeper into that career. And, you know, one of the problems we have right now is we've got a lot of today's craftspeople are retiring, and, you know, we need to be able to get them paired up with apprentices to transfer their skills, you know, before they've left the shop.
Well, and the nice thing about apprenticeship is it's good free labor. So you can just get a guy to come. You know,
paid apprentices.
There you go.
Learn as you learn.
And they should be paid apprentices, really, because a lot of people, I think part of the problem with the apprentice program was that people were doing just that. They were kind of taking advantage of the situation. Oh, we're just bringing a bunch of high school kids over here and we'll put them in the apprentice program and they'll empty trash and mop the floors. And what good does that do anybody? That doesn't further what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do, and what you're trying to do, is teach somebody to learn something that can help you in future years, right?
Yeah, it's workforce development, and that has to be done with a real plan in place, a method to this, but a career path that a young person can follow. Right? It can't be stop start, because those gaps let people divert into other industries and use those skills.
Right.
So
and a lot of people don't know how to get into a hobby or know that there's avenues that they can go down. I remember the guy who started the Khan Academy, which is a great educational thing that talked about the best developers in the world are probably in mom's basement right now, and they're better developers than the top guy at IBM, and that's an old guy term. Who says IBM anymore? But you know what I mean. And it's amazing. There's so much talent out there, and they may not even know that there's an avenue for them to go down or a path.
Sure. And tech companies who rely on those coding skills develop their own career pathways when the education system couldn't provide that, and they did away with the requirement of a computer science degree and said, look, come into our 2-year program. We'll teach you everything we know that that we need you to know, and you can bypass that 4-year college, and they've created their own workforce development program, and many of the large companies have done that.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, and and from a business standpoint, and everything has you have to look at it that way. I mean, it's a business. So when we return, we'll continue with Jeff Mason from the Piston Foundation. We'll be back with the Classic Auto Mall show just a minute.
The Classic Auto Mall has more than 1,000 vehicles for consignment in our huge 8-acre climate-controlled showroom. It's a real indoor mall. If you'd like to know all the advantages of buying and selling a car through consignment, the information is available on our website, or you can talk to a classic car specialist who can answer all your questions. It's easy, safe, convenient, and it doesn't matter where you are. We sell worldwide. See our huge selection of classic and collectible vehicles at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania, on a beautiful, sunny, cloudy, rainy, wet, snowy, we don't know, whatever day you happen to be listening to, whatever the weather is. We're speaking with Jeff Mason, from the president and COO of the Piston Foundation, and talking about the higher education of auto, not just mechanics anymore. I guess that's a wrong term to use, right? It's not auto mechanics anymore. It's auto technicians, right?
We tend to say technicians, but that might be just a generational thing.
Sure. Yeah, it's like custodian and janitor and all those old things that they say. And the McPherson College we touched upon in the previous segment. My goodness gracious, what a thing that they have built there. And of course they just got a pretty nice endowment too, so that didn't hurt. I guess $1 billion they got donated. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, they've got a great program out there. We have a number of students that we support, that we've provided scholarships to, that are at McPherson, and the program is excellent. They've got a great runway to build on, and I'm actually heading out there at the end of the month to their car show.
Yeah.
To see some of my Piston scholars that are out there, which is great, because I don't get to see them very often
in the wild.
Yeah, it's great to meet them. They're all of the young people that we've supported, what we call our Piston scholars. They're just remarkably driven, interesting, knowledgeable young people, and when you meet them, you just know that that's the kind of person that's going to make a success in this industry, because they've got the grit, they've got the intelligence. They're good communicators. It's just they're really great people to meet, and I it's a real honor for us to be to have them within our organization and to support them on their career journey.
Well, and it's crucial that you pick the right person for the scholarship, right? I mean, that's as important as anything.
It is. Again, we support. People are often asking us, what schools are we associated with and all of this. And we don't associate ourselves with schools. We have students at particular schools, and they tend to gravitate to programs like McPherson, but we really focus on the person, not the program. So there are other charities in the classic car world that are private charities that focus on supporting programs, but Piston Foundation is a public charity, so we work for the car community. We have no other stakeholders but the car community.
Sure.
We don't have a private equity agenda of any kind.
Right.
And we focus on the person, not the program. So I'm looking for young people with the interest in building a career in classic cars, but also, with the grit, with the drive to make themselves successful in it.
And your first graduates are coming up in a 4-year program's up next year, or this year, or next year?
Actually, we've got some this year. We had one last year, Victoria Bruno, who is out at working for Patrick Otis in California.
Yeah.
She is a Ferrari specialist, just has great skills at engine building. She's just remarkable. But we've got several other graduates. I think we have 6 graduates this year. So we're starting to sort of get, cross that threshold of having graduates, and I guess next year we'll have alumni and all of that. So it's great.
Yeah, it's glad to see the fruits of your labor paying off and in tangible ways. It's nice to see that, I would imagine. And of course,
and we also do some things to try and keep our scholars connected with each other, because they will be, their peers as they move forward in the industry. So we've started something called the Connecting Rod, which is just a forum for our Piston scholars. We invite significant people from the industry to come and speak at that. We had our first event with Rod Emery of Emery Motorsports, and just trying to get our scholars connected to each other as well as connected to the industry.
Right. What's the male-female ratio of scholars now? Is it close? Is it a lot of women are getting into motorsports and mechanical stuff and automotive and all that?
Yep. So far, it's 10%,
right?
Which is we definitely want to see that higher. We have more female applicants every year, so I think that's going to grow.
Right.
It's a bit of it's about awareness that that young people know that we have a scholarship program, but also that they're getting encouragement to go into this career path. So 10% to date, but I'm sure that will change pretty dramatically over the next couple of years.
Well, in the old days, our apprenticeship was the guy down the street who had his hood open in his driveway, and you wandered down there on your Schwinn Stingray and just watched what he was doing, and he'd, hey, hand me that wrench and do this and do that, and you started learning things about cars, and that was a cool learning basis. But no, I don't think many of us thought, even me, I always wanted to be in this industry. I didn't really know much about how to be in it until I went to a classic car auction, and I went, ding, ding, this is interesting. And I think that's a lot of aha moments for people, whether it be Barrett-Jackson on TV or Mecum or all these auction houses that people are seeing more and more of, and realizing that. And the cool thing about it is it's much easier to work on a small block Chevy from the 60s than it is from a modern motor.
Right. Right. Yeah. You can sort it out. And I think what you just mentioned is something that's important for everybody to understand, particularly the people who are in this hobby and who have the capacity to maybe support a foundation like the Piston Foundation. And, they sort of ask, well, why aren't there more young people in these trades? And, I just went down to the shop and knocked on the door and they gave me a broom, and 10 years later, I was a master mechanic. Well, I think one thing we have to remember is, these young people are coming to it in a different way. I grew up in a time where we still had a garage to tinker in. That's not the case for most young people. They're growing up in a condo, in a townhouse, in an apartment. They may be, in a city. They don't have access to those things, so they don't have the chance to tinker and build things like we did when junk day. You'd grab every Briggs and Stratton motor that was on the sidewalk and you'd go make mini bikes. Well, kids just don't have that opportunity. It's a different world for them, and so they arrive at this at the threshold of this with a very different experience, and it may not have a lot of hand tools and things because they're not getting that in shop class. They don't have that access in high school, so they arrive with a different set of skills. Their digital skills, which are native to them, are actually highly valuable in the way that restoration shops and automotive shops are changing. So they do bring valuable skills, but it's just a different set. So we've got to sort of backtrack and backfill on the hand skills the technical skills, but the digital skills that might be a struggle for a 60-year-old, craftsperson is natural for them. So we just have to understand that the path is a little different, and we have to accommodate that.
We talked to an employee at one of the local shops around here, and his whole training for working at this shop was YouTube. He would just he just started going on YouTube when he was a young kid, learning how to fix something, and it just progressed from there. And he watched, he self-medicated, self-educated, whatever you want to call it, medicated. It's just where my brain is. He self-educated and became, very successful. And now he's getting ready to take over, and he's going to own the shop after about 10 years. And all of his education, he said, look, I looked for places to go to get an education, and I couldn't seem to find anything that really fit.
Yep. And we had to wait for the next issue of Road and Track or Hot Rod Magazine to get new information. But yeah, these kids have access to, everything that they need to be successful, and they know how to use it. And it's a real value. And they naturally exploit, those tools for their knowledge. But they still need guidance. They still need hands-on skills. They still need to learn how to be professionals.
Right.
They need to learn process and planning. YouTube doesn't teach you that. It'll show you how to install the Holley carburetor, but it really doesn't teach you how to plan the whole engine rebuild.
Right.
And simply not for a customer who's paying the bill and needs you to document the work.
Right. How do you explain to a customer, customer service, and how do you explain to them why they need this done and what needs to happen and why you need your carburetor rebuilt, why this is important? I mean, you can't teach compassion, you can't teach empathy, you can't teach a lot of things through a YouTube video. You can learn how to fix something, but that's one little nugget of what it is that you do anymore. I mean, a service writer at a dealership has got maybe one of the toughest jobs on the planet, because you're trying to make everybody happy with a mechanical thing that was built by other people, and who knows how well it was done or what was right or what was wrong.
Sure. Yeah. So we're very focused on supporting young people, essentially taking interested car enthusiasts and giving them a career path so that they can look forward and think, okay, I'm really interested in this, and I can see a way to turn my interest into a career, and I can see that career has steps. I see that there's a way for me to get there. It's not going to be left up to chance.
Right. And that's where a lot of kids fall into that chance, if you will, place that they can't get out of. And that's well, it's like you go to the Napa store or the local auto parts store, and you ask the kid behind the counter, have you got a jet for a Holley car, whatever. No, it's not in the computer. But the old guy says, wait a second, I think there's,
right.
Give me just a minute. And he goes away in the nether regions and comes back, and he's got the part. And it's because he knew what it was. And maybe the kids, if it's not there on the computer, then to them, they can't process that it still could possibly be back in the inventory.
Sure.
And we see that a lot, I think it is. So what got you geared up on cars and in this hobby? And I know you do a lot more than the Piston Foundation. We're going to talk about that if you will stick around in the next segment. But what got you started in this?
Well, I'm of a generation, like I said, that still grew up, with my own toolbox and tinkering out in the driveway. So my brother and I were just, kids that made things. We just and for me early on, actually, it was more bicycles were my thing, and we would build, gather all the old parts we could and build new bikes, and that was kind of my thing. And I actually did that for a long time. I ended up running a bike shop and building custom road bikes when Greg LeMond won the Tour de France.
Right.
Cycling exploded. I was kind of in that world at that time, and ended up having some great years just building custom road bikes. And that was a great time. I really, really enjoyed being in the shop every day. And somehow or another, I veered off into a different path into business.
Right.
And sometimes I wish I had stayed in the shop.
Right.
But with the Piston Foundation, I'm kind of coming full circle and getting a chance to to be involved in automotive again.
Well, and doing good things for people. I mean, that's got to be pretty self-gratifying to know that you are helping people with their career, helping people with their lives, maybe giving them opportunities that maybe there was no path for them to go down in their mind before this came along.
Yeah, the other part of it for me is I'm a tech school grad. I went to college the first time and it didn't work out. It took me a couple of years to get sorted, and I figured out where I wanted to be, and that was graphic design. And I went to a tech school for 2 years, full time at night, while I worked full time during the day.
Wow!
And because I knew what I wanted to do, and that 2-year degree, that associate's degree, allowed me to build a 25-year career in design and marketing.
Wow.
And Piston Foundation is a transition for me away from my marketing business to then now run this foundation. And but so when I talk to kids about their education path and the power that some technical education can have, I know it from personal experience because I was able to turn those 2 years into a career. And if you have the grit and determination to do it, it's possible for sure.
Absolutely. Do you have 15 minutes to stick around with us for the last segment?
Yeah, you bet.
All right, good. When we return, we'll continue our conversation with Jeff Mason, maybe talk a little bit about the Rally Brothers. We'll talk to you in a couple of minutes.
Buying and selling via consignment is safe, easy, and secure. We advertise, sell, and ship worldwide. And if you'd like to know all the advantages of selling your car through consignment, the information's available on our website, or you can talk to a classic car specialist who can answer all your questions. Plus, you can easily search our inventory online at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall Show, joined via Zoom by Jeff Mason, the president and COO of the Piston Foundation. How can people get involved? How can people help this process and this cause that you guys are involved in?
So the easiest thing to do is to go to pistonfoundation.org. So pistonfoundation.org. And what I would ask is that people do 3 things. Number 1, sign up for our newsletter, and that'll get you information about what we're doing, volunteer opportunities, but also you'll get to read interviews that we do with our scholars and hear the voice of today's young technician and what's driving them. And it's really inspirational to see them and hear their stories. The second thing is, if you can, make a donation. Every donations of every size make a difference. They go directly into our scholarship program. So donations will be funding, the career path for an aspiring technician. And then if you can, please refer a young person that who may have an interest to our scholarship program. And that'll help. We'll send them some information. They'll be able to, assess whether this is something they want to do. But, really what they're going to understand is that there's an organization out there to help them if this is the path they want to take, and they're going to get some information about how they can do that. So sign up for the newsletter, make a donation if you can, and definitely refer a future Piston scholar.
I love that. I think that's so critical, because there are people that we might know that would be great at this, or great candidates for this, that don't realize what path that they have to go down. And so that's fantastic. And so happy that you guys are doing this. And I love the name, the Piston. Thank God it's not the Lithium Foundation, because that's my rant for electric cars for the day. Sorry guys, I had to.
Very subtle EV dig.
Yeah, just a little one. I'm not completely against them. I'm just somewhat against them. So anyway, apparently you wear another hat, and that is a navigator with the Rally Brothers. Not only are you running rallies, but you're running the Mille Miglia not in the U.S. Yeah. You're going across the pond.
Yeah. So, this is the other part of how I'm connected to automotive. Back in 2016, my brother and I decided to start doing vintage rally racing. And because we like to jump into the deep end, the first thing we did was the Carrera Panamericana in Mexico.
Nice. Love it.
And we've now raced that 3 times and done pretty well there. We've had some good success running our 65 Volvo Amazon. which runs in the historic A class. So it's a 2-liter class.
What are you up against? What other vehicles are you racing against?
Real common cars would be BMW 2002s,
Right.
Porsche 912s, some sort of hopped up VWs, Datsun 510, Porsche 914.
Nice. The Datsun 510 and the Volvo Amazon are two of the coolest of that of that class. I think those 510s are cool, but the Amazon and your car is not just some stock. I mean, this thing's got everything done to it, right? I mean, you guys have spent a few bucks on this thing. Even got a bottle opener, I see.
Oh, it does. Yes, we've got a custom bottle opener on the on the rear where the gas fill used to be. That is a very special name. That is called the shoe. And we put that there in honor of Michael Shoemaker,
right?
Who another vintage rally nut from Nebraska, and he and his wife Christy have raced the Carrera a few times, and we met them the very first year, and they helped us learn the ropes.
And it's 2,000 miles. Is that correct? Is that?
It varies a little bit. Usually more like 2,500, and that race runs currently from the south of Mexico to the north, city to city.
Right.
And so it's cities like Veracruz, Oaxaca, Mexico City, Morelia, Querétaro, Zacatecas, Durango, San Luis Potosi, things like that. Yep.
And people, if you don't know about the La Carrera and the history of that thing, the manufacturers were in the 50s were getting involved in a big way, bringing their big bore fastest of the fast cars there and running wide open through the country, right? I mean, it was a little bit organized chaos, or maybe not organized back then.
Yeah, it was a pretty extreme race. They didn't have it was right now it runs in, rally format. Then it was just a point to point race each day, and it ended it did not start the 55 race because in 54 they decided at the end that there were just too many fatalities and not only drivers but also spectators and it's still, there was a death last year, so it's still a very serious race, but kind of automotive adventure that I think is entirely unique in the world right now.
I assume you've made a lot of friends from down there as well too over the years of doing this.
We do. We have a lot of friends, and one of the things, because my brother and I like to just again do things out at the extreme edge. One of the things we started doing was making films about the Carrera, and so in 2019 we made our first film called The Rally Brothers, and we built a whole production team down in Mexico around a good friend of ours, Julian Castillo, who's our producer.
Right.
And so not only did we meet all the racers, but we also have a whole film crew and production team down based in Mexico City that help us with our project.
And they're more avid car people than you realize. Just watch Formula One or IndyCar or anything that's raced down there. I mean, they're really into it. And yet there's not a lot of avenues for them. So I would imagine that this is a big deal for them.
It is. The Carrera Panamericana is a cultural icon for the country of Mexico, and it is well loved. I mean, in Mexico City, when we arrive, there's two amazing things. One, we meet up outside the city and we get a police escort straight into the Zocalo, right in the center of town. Mm-hmm. And they tell us that even the president doesn't get that, meaning don't even close the streets for the president, but they do for the Carrera. And then, there's about 200,000 people show up.
Wow.
In Mexico City. And it's smaller versions of that in every city. So if you want to be a rock star for 7 days, get yourself a car and figure it out and go race the Carrera Panamericana because that's what it's like.
What's the fastest class that runs in that? Is that what's
Turismo Mayor, which is the Studebakers that run at the top of the class.
Right.
They are 650 horsepower, tube framed. I mean, they're basically NASCARs. They're slightly detuned NASCAR cars.
And it's got to be a lot of fun. I bet it's hotter than hell, but I bet it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress. But for us, I mean, it's the adventure of it, right? And it's the stress of it, the demands of it are really the fun. It's a it's a test of your ability as a team to get yourself through a very complex kind of racing situation. Performance consistency is really important. Preserving your car is very important. So over those 2,000 miles of racing, there's a lot of strategic decisions, and you have to work together. And things happen, right? Things always happen.
Right.
Never perfect, and so you got to deal with that. And it's just we love to do that. And at the end of the day, at the end of every day, you get a chance, have something cold to drink and swap stories with the other drivers. And there is a lot of camaraderie in that. It's what they call the spirit of La Carrera,
right.
which means, that family of people that you've been a part of.
And the name of your car that you run, its nickname or its name, if you will, is Mezcal.
It's called the Mescalero.
Is that a maker of mezcal? What does that mean?
Yes, it is. Technically, it is, and it came from in our very first year we ran it. We lost our license plate about halfway through the race. Our rear license plate got rattled off, and at some point our crew made like a phony vanity plate. And when we got the car back to New York, he had to replate it because, we'd lost the plate, right? So we had to replate it. And he was able to register the car with a vanity plate in New York State, Mescalero.
Wow. That is so cool.
Real honor, and everybody always wonders, is that the real plate? And I'm like, yep, that's a New York State registered plate, the Mescalero.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. Do you and obviously the Mille Miglia is a different kind of race. It's not a little different thing. Are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you what's your gut?
Yeah,
feeling
we're really excited. We got invited to race the Mille Miglia U.S. warm up in November. And we won our class. We were able to race the Mescalero there, and that gave us a guaranteed entry for the race in this June in Italy. And so we've got a 1939 Fiat 508C called a Balilla that we're going to race, and we've been getting ready for the time, speed, distance challenges that are a part of that. That's been a new challenge that we wanted to take. So, the Carrera is really about speed. And so, we want to keep rallying and we want to take on a new challenge. So the Mille was one of the races out there on our hit list. And so we're really happy to have the chance to race it this year.
Sure.
And we hope to do well. We're working hard to be ready.
Any thoughts on racing at the race in your backyard, the Pikes Peak Hill Climb?
I have really wanted to race that. It has gotten really difficult. There was a time when it was a little more accessible, but once it got paved, and then they used to allow rally teams to run it with a co-driver.
Right.
And we actually have some friends who raced it, won their class there, and it was always on our radar. But I think the game has been upped a little too far now. But I love to be there. We'd love to go see it, and it's a great week of racing there. But I think it's a little beyond our rally car world now.
Well, they do hill climbs around here, and the Sports Car Club of America puts them on, and the Blue Mountain region puts one on up in Reading. They race up to the pagoda, and I went to watch it because I was going to do it, and I thought this is going to be fun and cool. And I went up all the way to the top and watched them. They're doing 160 up there in these BMW M3s with a narrow road, and I'm like, that seems a little too much racing for, I wanted this to be a little less intense, right?
Yeah.
So
we were looking at a couple of hill climbs this year, but it just didn't sort of fit into the schedule for us. And the car needs to get prepped for some other things. So we didn't have we decided not to put the miles on the engine. So.
Sure. Well, you have to be a little bit selective. I mean, you just can't just order a new set of whatever anytime you want. It's not cheap.
The Mescalero is a full-on race car. It is street legal because it's a rally car. That is what is required. But it's it's this 1965 Amazon shell, full roll cage inside.
Nice.
Its suspension is all. That's the other among the things we did. It's got a B20 engine that's not highly tuned. it's rally tuned, so it's reliable, and it makes about 185 horsepower. So it's got some pull.
It doesn't weigh a lot, right? It can't weigh what? 25?
Yeah, we're at about 2,000.
Yeah, so that's not bad.
Yeah. We take them as much weight as we can out. We pretty much got that car, I think, sorted as it can be.
Right.
In terms of, plexi windows, fiberglass hood and deck. The Amazon is very strong. It has a great rally pedigree, and it's very predictable. So there are certain parts of that car that we could lighten, but we don't want to because it would start to diminish some of the durability. And for the Carrera, for its purpose, you absolutely need the most durable car you can have.
Sure.
It's a really, really hard on the car. So
continued success, and not only in the Rally Brothers and the Mille Miglia, but certainly with the great work you guys do with the Piston Foundation. And thanks so much for being on the show today, Jeff. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Stuart. It was great to be here.
All right. Take care, man. We'll catch you next week on the Classic Auto Mall Show. See you then.
You've been listening to the Classic Auto Mall Show with your host, Stuart Howden. Executive producer, Steve Safier. Produced and engineered by yours truly, J.R. Russ. Available on ClassicAutomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music courtesy of the Pat Travers Band. For tour dates, contact, and stuff, visit PatTravers.com. Produced by Car Smarts Media. Copyright all rights reserved.